Oziomma had always been the loudest voice in the compound. Bold, unapologetic, and quick to speak her mind, no matter who was listening. But isn't it funny how some problems we face in life stem from the careless words we speak without even recognizing their weight? For Oziomma, her sharp tongue will soon teach her a lesson she never saw coming. The compound was lively that day. The sound of women laughing and men bantering filled the air. Children ran around barefooted, their giggle echoing against the old brick walls. Joy had just swept through the compound. Ngozi, their cheerful neighbor, had given birth to her first child, and everyone was excited to visit and see the baby. It was tradition in their little community. When a new life was born, everyone came together to celebrate. Oziomma was part of the group walking back from Ngozi's house. She was the talkative one in the compound, always saying things as they were, or as she saw them. To some, she was honest and bold, a breath of fresh air. To others, she was reckless with her words. As they strolled home, Oziomma glanced around at her companions and began speaking, her voice louder than necessary. I beg, did anyone else notice that baby? She's not fine at all. She's even looking older than me sef, and she's just 5 days old. How can cute parents like Ngozi and her husband have a baby like that? The group fell silent. Some stopped in their tracks, turning to look at her with a wide eye. Others whispered among themselves. Finally, one of the older women, Mama Chinyere, spoke up. Oziomma, must you always say everything that comes to your mind? Be careful what you say. You don't know tomorrow. Oziomma waved her hands dismissively, laughing. Haba, Mama Chinyere, am I lying? If I have children, they'll be the finest babies ever. I got good genes, and I won't settle for less. She walked ahead, leaving the others shaking their heads. Time flew by. Oziomma got married to a kind and loving man, Afam. Their wedding was the talk of the town, with Oziomma glowing in her bridal attire. Soon, she was pregnant with their first child. She was super excited and planned for the new baby. When the baby arrived, Oziomma's world came crashing down. The child's features were far from what she had imagined. Her baby had a small crushed up face, big ears, and a complexion that seemed dull. Oziomma was devastated. She tried to hide her disappointment, but every time she looked at her child, tears welled up in her eyes. Her husband Afam noticed her struggle and tried to comfort her. My love, don't worry. Children change as they grow. Besides, beauty isn't everything. Our baby is healthy, and that's what matters. But Oziomma couldn't shake off her embarrassment. Neighbors came to visit, congratulating her with fake smiles and false compliments. She could feel their judgment even when they said nothing. Then there was another blow. 2 years later, Oziomma was pregnant again. This time, she prayed fervently, asking God for a beautiful child. But when her second baby arrived, her heart sank even further. This baby was even less appealing to the eyes, darker than the first, with wide bulging eyes that seemed to scare through people. The child became a topic of whispered conversations. Oziomma stopped going out entirely. She avoided visitors and covered her baby's faces whenever she had to leave the house. One fateful day, an old neighbor, Clara, came visiting. Clara had heard about Oziomma's new baby and decided to check on her. As soon as she saw the baby, she burst into laughter. Oziomma, is this your baby fine? Is this not these ones that you said you used to shame us all? What happened to your good genes, eh? Oziomma's face burnt with shame. But Clara's words struck a chord. Memories of her comment about Ngozi's baby came flooding back. Was this karma? Was this the universe punishing her for her loose tongue? Oziomma became restless. Her past words haunted her every night. She would stare at her children, wondering if her own words had caused them. One day, she decided to find Ngozi. She needed to apologize, to seek forgiveness. It wasn't easy. Ngozi's family had moved out of the compound years ago, and tracking them down was a difficult task. Oziomma asked former neighbors, made phone calls, and even visited the local market, hoping to run into someone who knew their whereabouts. Finally, after months of searching, she found someone who directed her to a small bungalow in the outskirts of town. Nervous but determined, Oziomma knocked on the door. The woman who opened it was older, her face lined with age, but still carrying the warmth Oziomma remembered. Oziomma, is this you? Ngozi asked, surprised. Oziomma nodded, her throat dry. It's me, Ngozi. I came to see you. They sat down and caught up on life, but Oziomma couldn't bring herself to say why she was really there. After what felt like hours, she finally spoke up. Ngozi, where's your first daughter? The one we came to see when she was born. Ngozi's expression darkened. She sighed deeply before answering. We lost her when she was just a year old. She had some health complications from birth. If you took notice back then, she looked really different from a normal newborn. We did everything we could, but her voice trailed off. Oziomma's heart sank. Tears filled her eyes as guilt washed over her. I didn't know she was sick. I didn't know, she whispered. What's wrong, Oziomma? Why are you crying? Ngozi asked. Oziomma took a deep breath and began to confess. Her voice trembling. She told Ngozi everything, the comments she made, the shame she felt, and how her own children were now the subject of ridicule. Finally, she showed Ngozi pictures of her children. I believe my words back then cost me and my kids. I came to ask for your forgiveness, and if I met your daughter, I will also ask for her forgiveness. Ngozi looked at Oziomma, her expression a mix of surprise and compassion. She reached out and held Oziomma's trembling hands. Oziomma, you said some hurtful things back then, but I don't believe your children are the punishment. Life just has its way of humbling us all. If you think I hold anything against you, I don't. I forgave you long time ago, even before you asked, and I believe my late daughter had forgiven you too. Oziomma broke down in tears, holding Ngozi's hand as though they were her lifeline. Thank you. Thank you so much. I didn't mean to hurt you. I was young, stupid, and careless with my words. Ngozi smiled friendly, wiping Oziomma's tears with her scarf. It's okay. Look, your children are still young. Children grow and change. What matters is how you love and raise them. Oziomma felt a weight lift off her shoulders. The guilt that had haunted her for years began to break up. She stayed for a while longer, talking and laughing with Ngozi before heading home. Back at home, Oziomma resolved to change her perspective. She decided to focus on loving her children unconditionally, regardless of what people said. She also began praying earnestly, asking God to help her see her children as blessings, not burdens. Days passed, and Oziomma noticed something extraordinary. Her children's future began to soften. Their skin glowed, their eyes sparkled, and their smiles became infectious. People who had once whispered behind her back now stopped her on the street to admire her kids. "Oziomma, please, which cream are you using for your children?" a neighbor asked one day. Her voice filled with genuine curiosity. "Their skin is shining like gold." Oziomma laughed for the first time in a long while. "It's not cream, oh my sister. It's God's work." Her husband Afam noticed the transformation as well. "I told you they will grow into their beauty," he said one evening, wrapping his arms around her. Oziomma smiled, but deep down, she knew it wasn't just time that had changed things. It was Ngozi's forgiveness and her own change of heart. Months later, Oziomma became pregnant again. This time, she was at peace. She was no longer obsessed over how the baby would look. She focused on her health, her family, and her faith. When the baby arrived, the entire neighborhood came to see the newest addition to the family. Whispers filled the room as they saw the baby's striking features: bright blue eyes, smooth caramel skin, and a head full of coily hair. "Oziomma, this one is an angel," oh," someone exclaimed. Oziomma held her baby close, tears streaming down her face. She looked at her husband, who smiled and whispered, "God has shown us mercy." That night, as Oziomma rocked her newborn to sleep, she reflected on her journey. She had learned the hard but valuable lesson about the power of words. She vowed never to speak carelessly again, knowing that words could build or destroy, bless or curse. And she also made it a point of duty to teach her children to be kind, compassionate, and mindful of their own words. Life had humbled her, but it had also blessed her in a way she never imagined.